right, this is where we're going to start on the baseball hour. And before I get to the particulars of Tristan Casas, because I think Casas is turning into a fascinating discussion. Fascinating because of he is one of your potentially biggest trade chips this offseason as the Red Sox go out on the market for pitching. So 617-779-0985. Let me give you that number up front and tell you that this is the final full week of the baseball hour. As such, I will entertain anything and everything you have on the Red Sox or on baseball in general. Anything and everything. And I will also offer you my 2 cents on the goings-on over at Fenway Park. And just let me give you the schedule here for the next week. Again, this will be a regular week. And then next Monday will be our final show of the season. It's been a little bit of a grind. Nobody happier than Jimmy Stewart. Jimmy wants out. Can't say I blame him. I'm right there with him. Although I have to bet, Jimmy, if I were to look back with all the time I took off, I bet you I probably did half the season.
Sounds about right.
I think Tyler O'Neill did more games than I did this year. For crying out loud, that's what it feels like. Trevor Story, maybe. Anyway, 617-779-0985. We will have all of this week, and then Monday of next week, and then that's it. Fini. No baseball hour until spring of next year when presumably the Red Sox will come back with a different team, a better team, maybe some of those prospects on board, ready to compete for a playoff spot or not. Which, again, was the discussion last week. What is your confidence level in that the Red Sox are actually going to go out and bring you back a better team next year?
0.
I thought last offseason was going to be important. I thought the year before was going to be important. And the year before that was going to be important. So I'm a sucker when it comes to this particular topic. But at this stage, how can you possibly assume that they're going to do anything?
You can't.
Mercy. Anyway, I think I just did the math. The most wins the Red Sox can end up with is 84. If they were to win their final 6 games, they can finish with 84 wins. Right now, the Tigers and the Royals have 82. Meaning that when those teams get to 85, it's over. Of course, if the Red Sox lose, then the number comes down, right? So any combination of 3 Red Sox losses and or 3 wins by the Tigers and Royals. Now, let me just say that the Tigers and Royals are tied. So if one of them loses, that's good enough. You follow me? But you get the idea. The tragic number is 3. That is what you need to know. Tragic number is 3 for the Red Sox. Now, I do want to get to Tristan Casas. Last week, I asked a question about Tristan Casas. What is it about him that has led to his name being tossed out there as a candidate for trade this offseason, specifically for pitching, most likely with a team like the Seattle Mariners? So, and we've had a lot of different arguments on the Casas discussion, the first of which is, Jimmy, your argument on Tristan Casas is, and forgive me if I am putting words in your mouth, but let me try to sum it up and then you tell me if I'm right or I'm wrong. You don't trade away a guy who's productive just because he's a pain in the ass.
Correct.
Is that a fair assessment?
That is very fair.
Okay, and a lot of people would counter that. For example, Manny Ramirez was a colossal pain in the ass for the large majority of his time with the Red Sox, and the Red Sox stuck with him for most of it. They traded him in 2008.
They tried to put him on waivers and nobody else wanted him.
Okay, but in retrospect, that whole thing with waivers was nothing more than a charade. And I remember somebody in the Red Sox organization telling me at that point, Manny kept asking the team to explore trading him. And the Red Sox didn't really want to trade Manny because he meant so much to their lineup that, they said, well, okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to let people know that you're available. We're even going to put you on waivers. and let people know that we're willing to trade you, or if they want to claim you outright and take the contract, we're willing to consider that. And the Red Sox went through those steps, but nobody took Manny, and so he had to come back. Someone in the organization at that time told me, I said, well, what about Manny? And they said, oh, come on, that whole thing, we know no one's going to take him. The only reason we're doing it is to pacify him so that when he comes back, we can say to him, hey, look, we tried, you're stuck here. So you wanted the money, you signed with us, we gave it to you, now no one else will take you, so you're obligated to play for us. So the point being, though, that when you have a player like that, that guy is worth the trouble. If Tristan Casas turns into the player he was over the weekend, when he hit 3 home runs and drove in 7 in the first game of the doubleheader against the Twins yesterday at Fenway Park, who wants to trade him? Nobody wants to trade him if he's that guy. The problem is that Casas has not consistently been that guy, which brings us to his attitude and his routines and his stubbornness and the fact that, as Jimmy would put it, or as many of us have put it, he's a pain in the ass. The pain in the ass part is not the reason you would move on from Tristan Casas. The reason you would move on from Tristan Casas is that his attitude gets in the way. And when I say his attitude, I don't think he's necessarily one of these guys who is lazy or, flicks snot at coaches. You know what I mean? That he doesn't respect coaches. I don't think he's that. I think he's just such a know-it-all and someone who has all the answers, that he's a complete slave to his routines to a fault. And when I say to a fault, that they get in the way of his development as a player. We read you an excerpt from a story last week in which coaches were quoted as saying that Casas would spend time defensively working on difficult plays that might show up once or twice a year. And the example I got was the pop-up down the right field line. That Casas would spend time working on a pop-up that he had to run, backwards or sideways down the right field line and catch up against the stands. And meanwhile, wouldn't work on the ground balls to first or scooping balls out of the dirt. And he was spending time on the kind of stuff that was going to get in the way of him becoming a better player because he wasn't working on the things that were more important. This is the kind of stuff that drives organizations crazy. So wait, you're going to spend time working on that because why? It'll make a good highlight, and that's what you're interested after you're done tanning on the right field line and painting your fingernails and whatever else. So this is the complaint with Casas. The tanning on the right field line before the game, shirtless, nothing but his shorts out there, shoeless, sockless. That stuff is all about showing people his routine and look at me. And then the plays and work ethic and the baseball stuff is the same thing. And there were a couple of at-bats, and this is example number 2. There were a couple of bats earlier this month where Casas took called third strikes on balls that may have been out of the strike zone, but they were close. Maybe a little below the knee hollow or a little above the letters. Casas did not believe they were strikes, so he didn't swing. The point being, he knows the strike zone. He knows it better than the umpire. I know a walk when I see one, and the umpire screwed up, so don't look at me. But there comes a point in those situations where you say, listen, if it's close and the ball is hittable, and if it's just a little below the strike zone, aren't you better off swinging? When you can hit like Tristan Casas, you're better off swinging at a questionable strike than taking it and running the risk of a strikeout. Now, I'm not telling you someone wants him swinging at a ball that's 1.5 feet off the plate. We're talking about the one that's close. Now let me give you the weekend, specifically game 1 yesterday. Casas homered on each of his first 3 at-bats. 3-run homer in the first, 3-run homer in the third, solo homer in the fifth. The home runs in order went to right, left, and center. So he homered to all 3 parts of the ballpark. The one to left field was on the cheaper side, but that's okay. That's the advantage of being a left-handed hitter at Fenway Park. So he's 3 for 3 with 3 home runs. Jimmy, what was the biggest rarity or biggest surprise in those 3 at-bats by Tristan Casas?
They were against left-handed pitching.
Good guess, but no. And this is going to, again, I sort of set you up here, Jimmy.
That's okay.
Here's what the biggest surprise was. Tristan Casas, in his first 3 at-bats, got a total of 5 strikes. Okay, 5 strikes total. The biggest surprise, he swung at every one of them. He didn't take anything. In his first at-bat, the first pitch was a strike. He homered on it. The second at-bat, the second at-bat, he got 3 strikes. He swung at all 3, and on the third one, he hit a 3-run homer. On the third at-bat, he got 1 strike. He swung and hit it out of the ballpark to center field. So do you understand what happened? The guy who has gone out of his way to take walks too often, early in his career was really bad. And if you listen to this show, you know that I said this. Swing the bat. I didn't draft you in the first round to take walks. I drafted you in the first round because you can hit and you can hit it out of the ballpark. So now his name shows up in trade stories. And one of the theories I had at the time was this is one of 2 things. It could be both. One of which was either the Red Sox were looking to let everyone know that they were willing to move Casas, or the Red Sox were letting Casas know that they were getting tired of his act and were trying to give him a little bit of a kick in the ass to be a little bit more open-minded to their way of playing the game.
And by Red Sox, you mean political Alex Cora leaking things to the media again.
And so again, Jimmy, and
that's my opinion.
No. And listen, that raises another question. It might have been Cora, for all I know. Who knows? It might have been Craig Breslow. The fact, though, that it was out there, one of the questions I have is, let's say it was Cora who leaked it. What if Cora is interested in moving Casas or would move Casas for a pitcher, but Breslow wouldn't?
Depends on what day of the week it is with Moody Cora.
Okay, so I wonder, are the Red Sox all on the same page on this?
Probably not.
Or is this just Cora? Is it just Breslow? You follow me? So what is, and
Craig Breslow does not strike me as a political animal who needs to go and talk to media members about different things.
Not yet.
Cora is the guy who does that.
Yeah, not yet. He will be.
Oh, I'm sure he will be.
He'll become one.
It's Cora and Sam Kennedy who love to talk to the media off the record.
So again, but where's it coming from? And are the Red Sox on the same page on it?
Doubt it.
So, because let me tell you this. If Casas plays like he played yesterday, nobody wants to trade him. Okay, and the point is, if he has learned, if the message got through, and if that was the Red Sox motive, success. But if the message got through, swing the effing bat, stop going up there looking for walks like you're some sort of genius and master of the strike zone. Swing the bat. Then it was worth it. Sometimes good players need kicks in the ass too. Wade Boggs never got over his batting average. That's all he cared about. But wait until I give you some of the numbers on Casas when he decides to swing the bat. Because they shouldn't surprise you. When the guy wants to hit, he can hit. We'll also get to Cora's ejection and any thoughts or concerns you have going into the offseason about what the Red Sox can do, what they should do. Interesting little item by Jeff Passan that we'll probably get to regarding the free agent market and who could be available this offseason. All of that on day one of the final full week of the baseball.
a couple times previously, did he? They had everybody jumping. Rocco coming running out of that dugout. I don't think it was like you're talking about that interference, giving a guy an opportunity to touch the base.
But he was ruled safe, so, Rocco wouldn't have a complaint there, right?
You see the inside move an awful lot. Cora's on the phone. He's trying to figure out what everybody could be talking about. They can give him a balk here.
Going to send him down to third.
Alex doesn't seem too happy about it.
So they've got a runner at third with one down.
Well, I mean, obviously, inside move, it wasn't a true balk, right, from a pitcher. It had to have... Are they saying that Grissom didn't give an opportunity to get back? He wasn't blocking the bag either, was he?
Didn't think so. Well, let's take a look.
Let's take a look at him.
Maybe he was.
At the base. Oh, the knee.
Oh,
there it is.
The knee down. Yeah, there you go. He did drop the knee down.
Yeah, can't drop the knee. Either you're safe or not. It's still going to be...
That's the rule this year.
Interference.
So he picks up third.
And they just toss Cora out of the game.
He is hopping mad. He's going right to second base. This is as hot as he's been all year. Porter puts his body in front of Alex Cora to keep him from getting to the other umpires, Blakeney, Rizal, and Barber. He is steaming.
He didn't drop his knee. Back might have been like, you're the second base umpire.
Right? I thought he did drop his knee.
Yeah, there's no question he dropped his knee. I think the argument is you're the second base umpire. You're making the call. You don't see it. You let other people influence you.
Right. Exactly.
Do your job.
I was in the first inning yesterday. Alex Cora tossed from the game. We'll play Cora's comment for you afterward, and he explained why he was upset. Lou Merlone was on it, though. Cora thought they got the call right. Okay, so the question becomes, why'd you get tossed from the game? We'll get to that momentarily, too, because I know a lot of you like to blame Cora. And in fact, to the point where I get accused of being a Cora defender, which I'm really not. I think Cora's a good manager. I think he's in the wrong market now. I think Cora needs to be in a place where they want to win. And as it turns out, Cora was willing to give that up for the paycheck, which, again, is fine. It's a good chunk of money, $7.25 a year. He gets $21.75 for 3 years starting next season. So those of you that want Cora gone, Cora's not going anywhere, at least not for a couple of years. They're not giving him that kind of coin and then chasing him out the door. So don't hold your breath on that. But I also think Cora's given up the right, sacrificed the right, forfeited the right to bitch about the roster because he knows what the Red Sox are now. So if they don't spend and they give him a half-assed team, well then he can't bitch about the roster. He knew what he was getting into this time. Dean's in Shrewsbury. Dean, go ahead.
I agree that Jarren Duran's a loose cannon, but I wouldn't trade him until 2028 because his last year of arbitration eligibility is 2029. And in 2029, I wouldn't trade him until 2029. He'll be 31 years old. He'll be on the back nine, and he'll be wanting a long-term contract. So I say we get a haul for him then, and then let some other team pay him and just have his best years, his prime years here.
Okay, so Dean, before I let you go, let me just say that when you say trade him at that point and get a haul for him, you do recognize that the longer you wait, the less you get.
Yeah, I do recognize the longer you wait, the less you get. But I think he'll just be very productive in this in his time here. And I think if management's willing to spend, which obviously they're not, or ownership's willing to spend, which obviously they're not, you can build a team around him and Houck and Bayo and Casas that can compete, but obviously that takes ownership, and I don't trust ownership.
Okay, look, nobody trusts ownership right now. Nobody trusts Red Sox management. Nobody trusts the Red Sox. But one of the questions I do have, and this was coming up last week, we all know the Red Sox need pitching. The best way to get it is on the trade market because that's the most efficient way to get the pitching that they need. They could have signed any one of a number of pitchers last offseason for tens of millions of dollars or hundreds of millions in some cases. They elected not to. And then they said that they'll do it when the team is ready to compete. Well, the fact of the matter is no one's going to come here until the team's ready to compete or until they're ready to overpay. So I would tell you that if the Red Sox want to get pitching, they're going to have to trade it. So I think we can all agree that that is the best route right now. Who are you going to trade? You don't want to trade Duran. Some people don't want to trade Casas. Some people don't want to trade Marcelo Meyer or Kyle Teal. So this is what I want to know from people. Who are you willing to move to get the pitchers? And please do not call me and say Masataka Yoshida. To get rid of Masataka Yoshida alone, you would have to include a prospect. Or just completely eat the money, in which case it defeats the purpose. No one's going to take Yoshida. He's not going to get you anything back. Not enough. Not for the kind of pitching you need. Nick in Fall River on Tristan Casas. Go ahead, Nick.
Hey, Maz, what's up? Well, first off, I want to say if Casas is going to hit like he did over the weekend, then I agree with you. None of us want to trade him. But I think you and me also agree that he's not – I don't think he's the second coming of Joey Votto. So if you can – I would trade him in the offseason because, like we've said before on the show, you've got lefties coming in the organization, and you're going to have to trade some of these guys in order to get legit pitching. And I think two guys that can get it for you are Duran and Casas. You can go to Seattle or you can go to Cincinnati and get pitching there.
Okay, so look, here's what I like about the idea of trading Duran now. And I say Duran versus Casas only because Duran's a little bit older. One is that he's older. And you basically have Duran in his peak years now. So if there's a team out there that thinks that they can win the World Series next year, Duran is an appealing guy. He's in his peak years, and he still has time. You're going to get him for 3 years. So that is an appealing thing for teams that are in contention. Not only am I getting a guy in his peak years, I know how good he is now. He was an all-star. And I can control the salary and keep him for a few years in his prime. That's pretty good. And when I say control the salary, I mean relatively speaking. He's not going to get some sort of blockbuster contract in the next few years. So Duran has value. The prospects also have massive value, as does Casas. They all have value. You got to trade somebody. And I never landed the plane. When we went to break, I had said, that I wanted to get in some of the particulars on Casas, some of the statistics. I gave you a few of the details on him swinging at all strikes in his first 3 at-bats. He saw 5 strikes in his first 3 at-bats. Yesterday he swung at them all, which tells me the message is getting through. And his success, when he's more aggressive, will open your eyes. We'll get to that when we come back. Kevin Majori's Get Your Headlines. Don't go... Back here on the baseball hour. I'll get back to Tristan Casas here, and then we'll get to your phone calls. Again, a couple of lines open, 617-779-0985. Casas, yesterday, 3 home runs, 7 RBI, all 3 home runs in his first 3 at-bats of the doubleheader yesterday. He saw 5 strikes in those 3 at-bats, and he swung at all of them. And I would submit to you that this is unusual. I was trying to find this out. Like, what is, basically what I'm telling you is in his first 3 at-bats, he saw 5 strikes, he swung at them all. That's 100%. Okay, anytime there's a pitch in the strike zone yesterday, in the first 3 at-bats, Tristan Casas swung at it. I would love to know what his highest percentage of swinging on strikes is in a game, if that makes sense. It's an absurd thing to ask, but in this day and age, you can count everything. I thought someone might have it. So how many games has that happened, or how many times in 3 at-bats has he swung at every strike? I bet you it's not often. Casas still loves to take too much. Swing the effing bat, dude. You're 6'5". You can hit it out of the ballpark. You're a good hitter, so don't go up there looking for walks. This is the point. So I looked this up. Swinging at the first pitch when he puts it in play. Tristan Casas. I threw out 2022 because he came up at the end of the year. It was like 25 games. So his first full year in the big leagues was 2023. That first month, guys are just looking to get acclimated, get their feet wet. They don't know what the hell they're doing. Okay, so I threw that one out. 2023, when he swung at the first pitch, Tristan Casas hit .268 with an OPS of 1,042. .268 is pretty good for a rookie. Remember that he started out that year really, really bad early in the year, and then by the end of the season, he was one of the best hitters in the game. So .268 for a rookie, .270, pretty good. 1,042 OPS, meaning that not only did he hit, but he hit for power when he put the first pitch in play. In the full season, 41 times. Okay, so now I should have punched up how many plate appearances he had that year, which I'm going to do here quickly. So Tristan Casas' first year, he must have had close to 500 plate appearances or over. So let's see. 2023, he had 502 plate appearances. Exactly the number you need to qualify for a batting title, basically. Might be 501, 502, somewhere in that area. He only swung at the first pitch or put the first pitch in play 41 times out of 502. This year, so far, only 217 plate appearances. You know how many times he's put the first pitch in play? 17. So, again, this is a guy that loves to take, particularly early, get ahead in the count, get himself in a favorable spot. Overall, you'd say the approach is good. Casas has a good approach at the plate. He just takes, like everything with Casas, he takes it too far. But this year, when he swung and put the first pitch in play, 7 for 17, a 4.12 average. 4.12 with an OPS over 1,200. You add it all up, and he's batting .310 when he puts the first pitch in play. So here's the message. When Tristan Casas swings at strikes, he is a Hall of Fame caliber player. Now, this whole thing about swinging at the first pitch, Jimmy, we used to have this thing with Nomar Garciaparra years ago. People used to complain the opposite. Nomar swung at the first pitch too much. Except his batting average and his production on that pitch was through the ceiling.
It was like 370, 380.
It was ridiculous. So, and it makes sense that oftentimes the best pitch to hit is the first pitch. Pitchers are looking to just get ahead in the count. Now, again, the world has changed. But even still for Casas, when he puts the first pitch in play, over the last 2 years, he's hitting .310. And his OPS is over 1,000. So, with Casas, that doesn't mean that he should swing at the first pitch every time he goes up because pitchers adjust. Things change. But it does mean he should go up there looking for a fastball, and if he gets it and it's in the strike zone, he should launch. It's not having a long at bat is not always the best outcome. And you need to adapt. And this is all a very long way for me of saying, over the weekend, it felt to me like Tristan Casas changed his behavior a little bit. And is that because someone got through to him? And if the Red Sox got through to him, is that an indication they are now more willing to keep him than they were a week ago, when his name showed up in a report about a potential trades the Red Sox could make, written by Ken Rosenthal, who's one of the more accomplished and accurate national writers on the sport. Okay, so just something to consider. 617-779-0985. Whoa, Martin's in Texas. Martin, what do you got?
Hey, Tony, I just wanted to say that I think it's a lot easier to get rid of Yoshida than you think, because he can easily just be attached to a prospect and the Red Sox can pay half his salary. And if they do that, then it gives them more flexibility than the Red Sox. They should be able to eat half a player's salary. It wouldn't even be, it wouldn't even be in the 2-digit millions. It would be a single-digit million that they'd be eating per year. Like maybe, I think it's like 7 or 8 or something like that. So they should be able to do that and not miss a beat.
Yeah, so, Martin, listen, I'm not telling you they can't do it. They can do it. But why would you go out of your way to trade a prospect and force a team to take Yoshida when that will lower what you might be able to get for the prospect just by trading him by himself?
Because you can get a more talented bat in the lineup that produces more than him and hits more home runs than him, because they don't have any power.
Okay, but so again, and listen, you're not wrong. Okay, you're not wrong about the idea of moving Yoshida. Jimmy Stewart, if Yoshida's your 7 hitter and you have a good team, is that okay?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with a DH platoon of Refsnyder and Yoshida next year, and in the 7 spot. Yeah.
So the point is, you don't have to get rid of him. It's not like he is, a guy who is useless.
He's a 290 hitter with a near 800 OPS. I can use that in the 6, 7, 8, 9 spot.
Of course. Now, is he the kind of guy that you can bat, 3, 4, 5 in your lineup, or 2, 3, 4 in your lineup? The answer is no. Not on a championship caliber team.
Back 15 years ago, he'd be a great number 2 hitter because he barrels the bat to the baseball so well.
Exactly. Good contact guy. He doesn't run well. I mean, so there's an issue there, but you can hit him in the bottom.
Neither did Pedroia.
No, Pedroia ran better than this guy.
Slightly.
I mean, Pedroia wasn't slow. This guy's slow. So, but he can hit in the bottom of the lineup. You don't have to dump Yoshida. And if it's going to cost you to do it, and when I say cost you, I'm talking about attaching a prospect or you're getting less back in the trade. The Red Sox have the money. They have the money.
You sure about that? Because they seem to be crying poor mouth over at Fenway. Not enough visiting fans coming into the ballpark and buying beers, apparently.
Oh, no, Jimmy, they have the money.
Oh.
They have the money. Whether they want to spend it is a different story.
They should.
But they have the money. That we know. Let me take another call here, and then I want to get to something. John in the car. John, what do you got?
Tony, you keep this guy. For the simple fact, in my opinion, he's one of 2 guys, an everyday positional player, that actually plays the position he's supposed to play. This team is incredible when it comes to position roulette. It's him and Devers, and that's it. I would trade Meyer. I would trade Teal. I would even trade Rafaela if pushed, if you're going to keep Duran, because I think Rafaela is a center fielder much more than he is a shortstop, before I would get rid of Casas.
So, John, look, when you say he plays the position he's supposed to play, does he play it well? So, like, I'm less interested in that. Like, what we're going to keep a guy that plays a position he's supposed to play, even if he plays it below average, which I think Casas does.
And so does Devers, by the way.
But he's not a complete disaster. Casas isn't a complete disaster. He is getting better, which is good. So I just, to me, if Casas can get me George Kirby or someone of that ilk, I'm talking about a front-end starter, I would seriously consider it. Would there be other guys I would trade first? Sure. But don't kid yourself either that that the Red Sox are somehow married to him, or that the guy is untradeable. Because I don't buy that for a second. What? Because he had one. I knew this would happen. Because he had one game. All of a sudden, you all want to keep him. Anybody can have one good game. The question is, what are you giving me consistently? And are you consistently getting better? Or are you such a know-it-all and you're so stubborn that you are not going to, you're going to get in the way of your own coaching staff and their ability to help you become a better player? Secondly, Jimmy, you mentioned the attendance at Fenway Park. It's an interesting item in Sean McAdams' most recent column on Mass Live.
Oh?
Regarding the attendance this year at Fenway Park and what that means. We'll get to that when we come back on the Baseball Hour. Don't go anywhere.
He did. But the whole mechanism, I didn't like. Like it took them to argue, and then Allen called time to get together, and they got the call right. But you're right there. Just call it. It's a lot easier that way, and I took exception, and I got thrown out.
So again, that's Alex Cora, who got ejected from game one of the doubleheader yesterday in the first inning. You want to know my theory on this? Seriously, you want to know my theory on this?
I do. I go ahead, Tony.
Okay, there's two things, and then I want to get to
because this annoys me.
So what did I tease before the break again, Jimmy? Oh, about McAdams' column. Sorry, I want to get to McAdam and the attendance.
It's okay. It's long-winded, so get there.
Okay, so I wanted to get to McAdams' thing too.
Write it down.
Cora got ejected for going out to argue when Vaughn Grissom was called for blocking the base. Then after the game says, well, he did block the base. So I have one of two theories. Either Cora saw it in, didn't realize that he was wrong, and then after the game felt like an a-hole, which in all honesty, I doubt, because I think Cora had a pretty good grasp on what the play was. He actually went out to second base at one point and even kneeled, sort of put a knee down on the bag. So I think he saw the whole play. I don't think that was it. My other theory is that, like, the fact that they got the mechanism wrong, that it took longer than it should have, that's a reason to get thrown out of a game?
No.
Usually you get thrown out of the game when you think the umpires have their heads up their asses so bad. And it certainly could have been something that spilled over from Friday night, although I doubt it. Because, again, the game on Saturday got rained out. So anything that was really pissing you off from Friday night would have probably been out of your system by Sunday morning.
Don't strike out 20 times on Friday night. How about that?
Okay, but what I think it was, he didn't want to sit in the dugout for 2 games yesterday.
He had football to watch.
Or whatever it was. Maybe, I don't know if it was he wanted to watch NFL Sunday, or he just didn't want to sit in the dugout for 2 games of a doubleheader all day. And again, because the team's basically out of it, you get thrown out in the first inning of a doubleheader for a call that was right. And people would hear this and go, come on. I'm telling you, I don't think it's completely, and I can't say that I know anything about Cora specifically, but I think there have been occasions, well-known ones over baseball history, where guys have been tossed from games because they had to go somewhere. They just didn't want to sit in the dugout for 8 hours during the day.
I've heard these, yeah.
I wouldn't rule that out. And by the way, I don't necessarily blame him if that's what it was. But that the first inning of a doubleheader for a call you knew that they got right, but you didn't like the way they went about it, that's a reason to get thrown out of a game? No way. Not in a million years. Now, Sean McAdams' column. And it's a...
You've only got 90 seconds, Tony.
I know, I'll make it fast. Some things I think is what McAdam writes. It's kind of a bullets column, small items.
It's a tribute to Peter King.
There's still 5 more home dates to go, writes McAdam, but the Red Sox are going to attract more than 2.7 million fans this season. More proof that baseball fans in New England are a loyal lot who can't stay away from Fenway despite ownership's lack of commitment.
Excuse me?
Do you believe that?
No, because have you heard the home run pops? Have you heard the traveling fans? The fans from Toronto and New York, San Diego, amongst all these other places, I feel like this is a record-setting attendance for visiting fans this year, Tony, rather than Red Sox Nation.
So if they go over 2.7, that'll exceed last year's attendance, and I think Jimmy's right. I don't think they're Red Sox fans. I think they're out-of-towners. People who are coming in for the games, who bought tickets at Fenway Park, because let's face it, word spreads. They now know that you can get tickets to Fenway.
And Tony, inexpensive tickets to Fenway. There was a time where you could travel to another ballpark, and with flight, hotel, and ticket expense, it's cheaper to go to, say, Colorado and see a new ballpark, or go to Baltimore and see the Red Sox and Orioles, than it is to get into Fenway Park to see Red Sox, Yankees, Red Sox, Orioles, all that. So now visiting fans are doing that to the Red Sox.
So Jimmy's right. This is what I think it is. I think it's out-of-towners. And my answer to Sean would be, and look, I've known Sean a long time, but my answer to Sean would be, if Red Sox fans are still going to the ballpark, if they're so loyal to the team, how come the television ratings aren't good? Because they'll go to the ballpark, but they won't watch a game on TV? When all they're going to do is sit on their fat ass on the sofa and have a beer? And I'm not saying every fan has a fat ass, just many of them.
I'm a whiskey guy more than a beer guy, too.
And I'm not saying my ass isn't particularly fat either.
By the way, Tony,
it's got nothing to do with the loyalty. It's out-of-towners.
By the way, Tony, there is technology. They can track where those tickets have been, who those tickets have been sold to.